My name is Nalen Alwar. I'm the sales manager for projects in terms of diesel and gas power.
Diesel and gas power, very big talking point. What are some of the developments therein?
So the developments are more in terms of the opportunity that are showing themselves up, especially in South Africa. The more power Eskom puts online from a diesel perspective, the more we need to back up customers, because we've only got one transmission line. So it's still a system with risk. So Eskom performing doesn't mean that it affects our business negatively. It actually affects our business positively. Outside of South Africa, where there's fragmented grid infrastructure, there's always an opportunity for continuous power with diesel. From an energy efficiency point of view, from a low carbon electricity point of view, gas is starting to show up and to feature as becoming desirous. Companies are becoming adventurous and starting to explore, and we're barely beyond the infancy curve of the product lifecycle technology. Excuse me. So we're getting there. I think gas is going to be big. I think gas is the growth strategy in terms of our businesses and for the country. So yeah. So I'm here to also talk about gas. There's going to be gas opportunities and applications.
Big talking point, landfills. How can we maximize that resource?
So landfill gas, there's two issues in South Africa. One is that landfill sites are not always managed ideally, where the waste is actually stored above ground. The ones that are stored where waste is stored underground and the landfill sites are capped properly, there's potential gas yield for about 15 to 20 years, but it's on a decreasing yield over time. So you can make power, but you're going to have a very robust technical model to show what power output can be expected each year. From the perspective where waste is not managed effectively and where we have waste above ground, the ways of treating that with gasification technologies. And that also produces a syngas, which is an energetic gas, and then it actually reduces the volume of waste, and then we can actually use it in a gas engine to make power. So in terms of maximizing landfill opportunities, it all goes back to proper waste management philosophies, separating waste, managing it properly. We need to drive central collection behavior and get all the waste to a central point so that we can build a power plant, because there's some continuous feedstock supply behind it.
Are you seeing government making the right noises to facilitate that process?
Yeah, absolutely, because I've picked up from the market that government, one, has the waste volume problem. They need to get rid of waste, and the municipalities need power. So they're definitely very excited and very curious about these technologies and what can be done. Whether they have an established landfill site, or whether they just have a waste problem, they want to find out more. So we're here to engage and to talk to the municipalities, to talk to the project developers who are helping municipalities with this problem, either a waste management problem in terms of volume, or a power supply problem where they may want more power into the municipal grid.
Biofuel, been a few question marks about the cleanliness there and the effect on the engines. Are we getting to a cleaner biofuel?
So in terms of biofuel, the biogas, which is actually our area of expertise, we have technology that can treat it, because biogas typically has contaminants like moisture, hydrogen sulfide, which leads to an acidic formation that damages the engine. But we have technology to be able to treat that and clean up the gas before admission into the engine. But yes, it has an implication for the life of the engine, but those technologies exist. Gas to power, I think on a global scale, we've been doing it for more than 100 years. It's embracing the technology here in sub-Saharan Africa that's new.
And there's some misconceptions about gas. How can you train new thought patterns therein to make it more attractive to people who might be scared of that technology?
Yeah, the misconceptions about gas is one, gas type. People think LPG, which is not a gas that can be used for power generation. There's some thinking that shale gas is destructive to the environment. There's some thinking about what gas costs are. So the whole paradigm shift in terms of gas is availability, tariff structure, which is important, and obviously the planet itself. So in one way, where you'll find that with shale gas, there's an environmental concern, there's a socio-economic concern. Those are valid concerns, and I think as a country we know how to address that responsibly. But whilst that is happening, in other countries like in Rwanda, beneath the Lake Kivu, there's a volcano that's erupting, and the gas needs to be removed safely. So various companies are building power plants around the lake. There's accumulators on the lake. It's capturing the gas and removing the gas. Firstly, to make it safe for the people who live around, but also to make power. So if you're not going to do something with the gas might force you to do something with it anyway. So there are different drivers with gas, and I think some things that happened when we don't expect them allow us to understand it, and to create that mental shift that gas is actually a viable option. And then once we realize that we've got to do something, understanding the quality, the pricing mechanisms for gas becomes the key issues to understand.
And supply is a big talking point. How can we ensure that we have a steady supply chain?
In terms of a steady supply chain, the world is actually in a bit of a situation where they need to understand gas on the eastern side of sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm talking about Mozambique, and I'm talking about Australia, where they are developing LNG projects. To meet the hurdle rate, the price of this gas is around $12 a gigajoule. On the western side, Nigeria, Angola, and even from the US, LNG is around $3 a gigajoule. Okay, so the big disconnect is sub-Saharan Africa, that we don't really have a steady supply of gas in this country, and we don't have the most expansive gas infrastructure. So from that point of view, especially here in the Cape, I think Southern Africa will benefit a lot from the LNG trades, or the trade that occurs globally. And I think it's very likely to happen here in the Cape. So I'm very happy from that point of view that the Cape is actually at a tipping point of creating the shift where they could actually source LNG from the US, from Nigeria, and from Angola at a very good tariff or price. And I think the supply chain is mature and that it can ensure steady supply, and it can kickstart the gas to power program. And then after that, once LNG import starts in the short term, in the medium term, we can look at creating gas supply chains from regional African sources. And then I guess in the long term, we'll probably look at shale gas here in the Cape.
And then the viability of shale gas, long term?
Look, I don't know much about it, but shale gas involves digging deep beneath the Earth's surface, beyond 1,500 meters to about 4 kilometers. So it involves fracturing the rock, the shale rock, to be able to get the gas out. The gas that comes out passes the Earth's water table. So there's talk of contamination issues, there's talk of creating man-made earthquakes, there's talk of the chemicals polluting the environment. But then again, think about the Lake Kivu project. It's the gas beneath that's accumulating that will eventually force you to do something with it, So I think as we take our time and we explore what are the right things to do and what are the responsible things to do, at least we know that there is a viable source beneath the earth. So with the current global economy that's contracted, there's LNG available, there's some surplus. Even in South Africa, in terms of pipeline gas, there's some surplus. Certain companies have contracted significantly. So all the gas supply agreements that they've signed years back, they cannot maximize those. So there's gas available to start these projects. So in terms of shale gas, I think we've got the time to explore what our responsibilities should be, but I do think it's a viable source.
Now, obviously, the gas will have a positive impact on greenhouse emissions.
Yes. Yeah, because natural gas, shale gas, which is a form of natural gas, is cleaner. So when we head towards a low carbon economy, I mean, remember last year, a few things happened. Crude oil prices dropped, which affected LNG projects and commercialization and viability of gas projects. But global temperatures went up by about 1.5 degrees. So, it's time we started looking at a low carbon economy and how we reduce our dependence on dirty fuels and mainstream grid power. So I do think that gas will be the growth strategy, both from an efficiency point of view and from an environmental responsibility point of view.
Great stuff. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thanks.